Video game players are an interesting group of people, I guess. When something is good, it's addictive. Or when something is bad, it's the worst thing ever. But leaning into that sort of hyperbolic exaggeration in a fun way, I want to make the case right now that Earth 2 is an actual contender for the worst game ever made, yet somehow people still try and defend it. Here goes. Earth 2 is a kind of long-standing joke on this channel. Not just this channel either. There's a bunch of other creators who've talked about it before me, such as Big Fry TV or Callum Upton, but the general consensus online, by anyone with a brain that is that Earth 2 is a scam. It's not a scam because nothing exists, far from it, in fact. It's a scam because of what does exist, and the simple fact that what they promise, for the sake of further monetizing the community, versus what they can or ever will deliver, have absolutely no relationship to each other whatsoever. Earth 2 is like that kid on the playground who's telling you all about how he went to space last weekend on a spaceship, and while he was there, he saw a bunch of aliens right before he came home to a private birthday party where Drake and Kanye performed personally for him at the second mansion his family owns, but then you go to his house, and it's like a trailer. It's kind of easy to forgive the child, sure, and likewise, I very often hear people defending Earth 2 by saying things like, they're just overly ambitious, or they have big dreams. But unlike the child who's coping with the fact that his life just isn't what he wants it to be, Earth 2 is making grandiose promises and statements for the purpose of monetizing their fan base on a scale that they simply cannot achieve. At a certain point, overly ambitious doesn't really cut it anymore, because at a certain point, even if you want to make what you're promising, you know you actually can't do it, and thus, you are scamming people. That's a more accurate description of Earth 2, I think, because they certainly have something after these 4 years, but what they have is like baby's first clay bowl after they showed you a Fabergé egg and said, I'm making this for you, daddy, please give me a bunch of money. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, okay? Earth 2 is a metaverse born during the sort of Web3 crypto hype era alongside a bunch of other failed projects with similar goals. But the standout thing that really separated them from the herd was the fact that they were building a one-to-one representation of the entire Earth, and the fact that you could buy and sell land tiles on that Earth for real money. This is where things get complicated, because when you talk about a non-existent metaverse, which allows the ability to buy cheap digital assets and potentially flip them for a lot of money afterwards, what you immediately cultivate as a community is not video game players. It's bottom-of-the-barrel financial speculators. The real financial speculators, by the way, the ones with knowledge or skill, they're leveraging futures, they're trading options contracts, or making insane returns by speculating on actual companies and commodities. But the ones that gravitate towards a platform like Earth 2, you know what I'm trying to say, I think. They're the people at the dinner party talking about financial freedom while chastising everyone around them for using fiat currency. But when you finally get the full picture of what they mean and why they talk this way, it's because they bought like $53 worth of a random shit token you've never heard of. And now they think that they're, I don't know, Bill Gates or something. It's sad. Suffice it to say, when you cultivate a community of finance piggies who don't know anything about video games, don't know anything about software development, and don't even really know anything about finance either, it becomes very easy to keep them entertained, which is precisely what Earth 2 has done. Since you can buy and sell digital real estate before the metaverse even exists, they began launching new countries and selling those tiles. They made a crypto token and tied it to the land. They made little gem systems to keep you logging in every single day. And they peppered the past 4 years with dramatically emphasized tech lingo, scripted trailers, and all sorts of grand promises about what you'll be able to do in this one-of-a-kind, technologically marvelous digital Earth. Here's what that looked like, all right? 4 years ago, they showcased their terrain system with a highly scripted, artistically rendered overview of how seamless and perfect their digital world is about to be. Cool. Probably not real, mind you, but cool. Almost 3 years ago, they were showcasing entire cities. This is a tech demo, sure, but that means that they at least have the tech, right? And keep in mind, this is a 30-minute video showcasing shops and cars, internal buildings, little demonstrations of how perfect their collision systems are, multiplayer, and just a whole bunch more after that. 2 years ago, they were showcasing high-speed flying drones, which also made a point of flying directly through an entire city. This video is called, quote, Flying Inside Earth 2's 3D World E2v1, end quote, suggesting that E2v1 would be something like this, presumably. 1 year ago, they dropped a multiplayer promo with flying and boats and campfires and fishing, even a T-Rex and guns. Interestingly, this promo was accompanied by this very specific claim, reading, quote, all footage, real-time multiplayer in a seamless 510 million kilometer squared world, end quote. 11 months ago, they were showcasing wildlife. 3 months ago, they were showcasing combat with hordes of enemies and a very specific UI layout, by the way, which I'll come back to. But then a few weeks ago, they finally came out with E2V1 as a pre-alpha testing build. And it has, quite literally, none of these systems that were advertised over the past 4 years. It has no drones, no boats, no guns, no wildlife. It has no cities, no building, no campfires or fishing, and no multiplayer. It has basic survival mechanics like eating and drinking, but nothing else beyond that. And everything from the collision to the world rendering, all of it, is complete garbage. There's a number of people who did live streams of the alpha, and I want to be clear right now. I'm not hating on this guy in particular. Actually, I think it's a very good thing that he decided to showcase this for the public. But I want everyone to look at this gameplay and tell me with a straight face that this is anything other than a total joke. I'll go rapid fire on some of the more egregious stuff, aside from the fact that you literally can't do anything from the past 4 years of promos and hype demos. But yeah, here goes. The collision system was botched, and you routinely clipped through the ground while running into even the smallest bushes, which made basic movement a complete chore. The inventory system is broken, incorrectly displaying capacity versus number of objects with no indication of weight, but that doesn't matter because all you can do is gather food to stay alive, so why would you even gather anything else? The items are entirely useless. Speaking of staying alive, there's hunger and thirst, sure, but they only go down when you move, so standing still just avoids death. It's not even bare bones, it's like the left toe of the worst survival game you've ever seen in your life after 4 years of advertising the most technologically impressive metaverse the world has ever conceived of. Okay, like it's a joke. Still, none of that comes even close to what's next, because there's a mechanic in play here which I don't think a lot of people outside the community have a proper understanding of. Earth 2 isn't just a game or a metaverse, as they like to call it. It's also a crypto project, which has its own crypto token. The token is called Essence, and directly from their own website right now, the 3 steps to acquire Essence are buying land, claiming Ether, and then transforming Ether into Essence. Indirectly, this means that not only does Essence have a dollar value associated with it, a rapidly crashing dollar value because this is a joke of a project which has been fleecing its entire community for years, but indirectly, Ether also has a dollar value associated with it because Ether is what you use to make Essence. Well, when you spawn in this world with nothing to do, it requires Ether to do it. And if you die, which you will because the physics are completely botched to a point where you may just mistakenly jump too high and kill yourself, if you die for whatever reason, you have to pay them more Ether to revive yourself. Imagine this playing out in any sort of legitimate raid content or PvP or literally any legitimate survival game. You have to pay real money to revive yourself in this game. Obviously, there is no combat yet, but let's go back to that demo now, because why on earth, just a few months before releasing Earth 2 V1, would they showcase combat, which isn't there, with a completely different UI setup? You want to know the answer? Because it doesn't exist. What they have are slices of content doctored as much as possible to look good, and they still don't even look good, for the purpose of tricking more people into buying land tiles and spending money, when the reality is this project is the actual worst game ever. I want you to look at these 2 things and tell me with a straight face that this is a realistic product delivery after 4 years of work, when the original promise looked like this. Setting aside all the extra bullshit, okay? All the promises about metaverse content and interoperability games, the whole seamless entire planet gimmick that they've had going, and whatever else they came up with. I want someone to tell me that even for the most basic fundamental Earth 2 promise, which is big, beautiful world, that this comes anywhere close to a realistic delivery of any kind. Also, because I don't want to forget this part, right? I want to make sure to put it in. Despite the fact that the original community for this game is a bunch of low-grade financial speculators, not actual gamers, the withdrawal system for Earth 2 is broken. Maybe broken's a bad word. It's not KYC compliant, KYC being know your customer, as in anti-money laundering laws, which means that in order to fix that problem, because money is the entire premise that the last few people hooked on the illusion actually care about, In order to fix that problem, you have to convert any dollar value that you want to cash out into essence first, which means manual help from the developers to do that, and then cash it out to a crypto exchange, swap it that way, and then eventually bring it back to your accounts afterward through a third party. Think about that for a minute. The only way to cash out of the digital real estate speculation app, or game, or whatever, is tightly controlled on a dollar for dollar basis by the development team, because that's not a big red flag. And then the product that they ultimately deliver requires you to pay real money for every single respawn. In case it's not clear, this game, if you can call it that, cannot become widely popular without the help of actual video game players. But actual video game players aren't brain-dead crypto fans, at least not most of them. What that means is that the game has to appeal enough to the actual gaming community to generate interest. But we live in a world where pushback against greedy monetization is like at an all-time high. And paying real money per life for a pre-alpha tech demo, that's like 15 steps further than what greedy companies like EA and Ubisoft are doing. Earth 2 isn't a revolutionary version of anything. It's a step backwards in every single category that they've ever touched on, with worse monetization, worse fundamental architecture, and worse transparency than any comparable project you could ever find, with the first playable experience that they offer being quite literally a worse product than The Day Before, which was an actual rug pull scam. Unironically, The Day Before was a superior product with more playable features by far than Earth 2, and it got pulled off of Steam because it was a scam. There's something insane to me about how brazen it's all become. Earth 2 is obviously a joke for anyone with a brain, but the way that they continue fooling people is just so painfully transparent it boggles the mind. Check this out from their official pre-alpha release post. Let's actually read some of the stuff that they talk about. Quote, development progress throughout Q2 2025. Despite the complexity, Q2 was a highly productive quarter for the Earth 2 dev team. Major advancements include persistent inventory system v1.0, allowing default storage space and management for items per character. End quote. Persistent inventory system allowing default storage space and management for items per character? Bro, what? That is the least impressive thing you can possibly make. That is the most obvious, easiest, least consequential, but critical game component for any video game literally ever, and they're out here blasting it like it's some sort of monumental accomplishment. This whole project is like a bad interpretation through ChatGPT of what a dumb person thinks a smart person would say when developing a video game. Here's another example. All right, this is probably just the most obvious one. Quote, Immersive Audio v1.0. The Immersive Audio v1.0 system introduces the first version of spatially reactive, biome-aware audio inside Earth 2, designed to elevate the sense of presence and environmental fidelity within E2v1, to match the immense level of detail literally spread across an entire planet inside E2v1. The audio team has been working hard to provide features such as dynamic positioning of complete immersive spaces, giving early life to each individual biome through its day and night cycles. End quote. Wow. Okay, so that's why you can hear a random fucking sheep noise on top of Mount Everest. Got it. Really just biome-aware, immense levels of detail literally spread across the entire planet. Environmental fidelity, reactive, spatially aware, biome-aware, like what? Dude, what? I'm not kidding, by the way. Like, I'm not exaggerating at all. You can hear a straight up random sheep noise simulation at the top of Mount Everest. Does it make sense now? This whole thing is what a really, really dumb person thinks a smart person sounds like, and it's just perfectly indicative of the rest of the project. I could sit here for like 50 hours and pick apart more things that are just hilariously wrong, broken, fluffed up, and over-exaggerated. But the ultimate takeaway from all of it is that Earth 2 finally launched a playable build, and that playable build is an actual contender for the worst game ever. No hyperbole, no exaggeration. It is genuinely on the top of my list within the context of time frame, resources, promises, and scope. It is at the very top of my list for the actual worst game I've ever seen. That's it. With genuine sincerity here, my heart goes out to all the people that are still supporting this project. I hope you get the help that you need soon. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below, a special VPN deal, locals, Patreon, and channel memberships, merch, social media, etc., but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, Thank you all for watching. Question everything, and have a nice night.